started. My name is Jennifer Stewart. I'm the representative-elect of the 59th House District, and I just want to thank you all for coming out today to join us in our continued effort to save Morley Field. I'm really excited to see a lot of new faces here joining us today. Thank you so much, Brown Sunrise, for coming out, for example. And there are lots of people who joined us the last time at our rally in the summer at Morley Field itself. And at that time, we wanted to raise awareness in the community and among our environmental justice friends about the sale of Morley Field that was planned at the time for to be made into a parking lot by some New York developers. And at that time, we wanted people to join us to mobilize against that sale. And in the months since that last rally, we have mobilized. We have had petitions. We have attended city council meetings, more than I can maybe like to share. And we have written letters to city officials, to the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management, to the National Park Service, really anyone and everyone who could help us, and environmental organizations throughout the state too. And we're here today basically to say we want all of Morley Field to remain a park for the people of Woodlawn. We made progress since the summer. I guess we've officially saved 40% of the park. And so we're working for the remaining 60%. And there are a lot of people here today who will share with us all the reasons for doing everything we can to hold on to that 60%. So welcome everybody, and we'll get started with the speakers. So thanks again for coming out. And the first one up is Councilor Clovis Gregor.
Thank you, each and every one of you, for coming out here, and all the environmental groups and organizations who have come forth to help us out here. This started out as really like a snowflake, with essentially just me initially, and it has multiplied and moved on. Now we have Jennifer Stewart here, the newly elected representative district where Morley Field is situated. We have Sherry Cruz, who's on the adjoining district over there, also with us. And we have Save the Bay, which is Kate's going to come up and say a few words, actually. We have Parks with Purpose. I think she doesn't want to say anything right now, but absolutely supporting us. As Jennifer said, we've been fighting them hard, nonstop for several months. And I'm very happy that we were able to at least get them to finally admit that they couldn't sell essentially almost close to half of Morley Field. They are prevented from doing that. It was a gifted lot and not subject to disposition whatsoever. So the entire premise of the city planning department even coming up with the idea of selling Morley Field was wrong to begin with. It's a National Park Services Protected Lands and Waters Act recreational space. It's meant to be in perpetual public use for forever. It's not supposed to be sold. So my issue here in large part is the fact that we have the entire residents, a big portion of the residents in District 5, nearby district where they're proposing the relocation, all against it. There hasn't been a single person who has come up and said anything in agreement or supporting the idea of selling Morley Field. In fact, just the opposite. We have the Council at Large, Melissa DeRosa, opposing it, and she lives in the district. We have myself, the representative council for District 5, opposing it. We have Alexis Schutz, who's in District 4, I'm sorry, also who opposes it, and that's the district where they're proposing the relocation. We have residents from her district opposing it. No one supports this but the administration, and we have to wonder why. It doesn't serve the city of Pawtucket as a whole. It doesn't serve District 5, doesn't serve the children of District 5 who have no green space. And you would think that they would stop, right? We managed to save half the field, and yet, they are proceeding. They say, all right, we're going to try to go ahead and pave the other half that they are able to potentially sell. But we're hoping the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management, along with the National Park System, will not authorize this totally immoral, egregious action by the city, what they're trying to do.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm going to let the people come in and speak, but essentially, what you need to live with here is that green space should not be paved over. Okay, it makes no sense. Absolutely no sense. Green space should be preserved. What they're proposing is against the city's own comprehensive planning priorities, which states that land around the Moshassuck River should be preserved. In fact, they're doing the opposite. It goes against the state's own comprehensive recreational planning. There is nothing that justifies what they're trying to do here. Not a single thing other than the interest of one single private interest should not override the residents of the city and the city of Pawtucket as a whole. It should never happen.
Yeah.
Planning decisions should look at the implication, the environmental impact, the moral impact, the legal impacts, and what's best for the residents. The people making these decisions are elected to represent the people, not private interests. It should never override it. Thank you very much, and again, I appreciate each and every one of you for coming here. If I forgot anyone, please forgive me, but again, we need your continued support. It's not done yet. We do plan on preserving Morley Field one way or the other. It is going to happen. We are not going to let this happen. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Gregor. And can we have up here Representative-elect Cruz?
Yeah.
Okay, I just need the speaker in front of you.
So we all know 2 parcels of land make up Morley Field, and the original acquisition, both parcels, was done for the purposes of constructing a Morley athletic complex that was so desperately needed in the South Woodlawn community and is still desperately needed to this day. This was the original intent of the land gift provided to this community, which dates as far back from the beginning of the acquisition in the mid-70s here in Pawtucket. There are laws and regulations in place for a reason, to protect people in the community, and the ignorance to the existing laws and regulations protecting Morley Field is no excuse to move forward with the illegal sale of either parcel that is part of the Morley Athletic Complex. It's time for the city to follow the law and do what is right for the families in this community. We can no longer allow these city leaders to neglect and ignore the needs of the families in Woodlawn and selling our kids resources and opportunities, selling them to corporations who do not have the health and well-being of the community at heart. But it is those whom we elect that must have the health and well-being of our communities at heart. And right now they're failing. Right. The city needs to move from reactionary to proactive. Years of neglect of Morley Field by the city and the state is not and will not go unnoticed. It is a shame, and it's time to do better. And we're watching you, and we, the community, will hold you accountable and work to ensure our families and our young people come first over profits. This is not only about the history of Morley Field and what the field has meant to the community of Woodlawn, but the potential, the future of our youth in this community. We heard Pawtucket City Council members share their memories of Morley and how it positively impacted their lives, but yet voted to turn Morley into a parking lot. The messages I got was, I needed to improve my life, but our young people today, well, they're on their own. It's time the city truly moves forward and invests in our children and families today and for the future of our community. So I want to thank you all. Make sure you make calls. We got to keep the pressure up. That's right. Parks, not parking lots. 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 Woo! Save Morley Field!
Thank you. All right. Do we have from the Oakwood Raiders, Johnny Santos? Is here? Here?
He might be late.
Might be late? Oh, okay. How about Lucien Tavares?
Probably same thing.
Okay. How about, is Molly here? Molly Henry?
You see it?
All right.
Hey, Molly!
Yeah.
So you just want to stay behind the
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thanks everybody for coming out. I just want to say I'm a District 5 resident, and I've been working with these two, well, almost elected officials, and then our city councilor, and we're so lucky to have such strong leaders really fighting for green space. And I work for a nonprofit called American Forests, and one of the things we did was analyze tree cover in the entire urbanized areas of the state. And what we found actually is the neighborhood where Morley Field is positioned actually has the lowest tree equity score, which means in relation to other neighborhoods, it has the lowest in Pawtucket and one of the lowest in the states. So I ask you, why would we remove more green space when we should be prioritizing putting more resources into our
Yes,
parks?
that's right.
So I just leave you with that, and let's call it what it is. It's absolute environmental racism. So, yep.
Thank you, Molly.
All right. How about Tarshir Battle? Tarshir? Is Tarshir here? Not here yet. All right. Talk about Melissa DeRosa. Melissa.
All right, Melissa.
Councilor DeRosa.
How you doing?
Good. You just want to hold that in, speak into it, and stay behind the camera.
Hello, everyone. It's a beautiful day today, right? Yeah. Unfortunately, we can't go enjoy it in Morley Field. I just wanted to. Yeah, we will. Yeah. So I'm here because I obviously am in support of saving Morley Field. And I'm a little disheartened because I knew when Councilman Gregor disclosed that piece of plot was a deed and in fact something that needs to stay here in the city, that they would figure out a way to use that other lot as a parking lot. Some of us, and I'm not saying us, the council representative, but some of the people here in Pawtucket, voted for the representation that we have right now. And it's sad that they're not here with us fighting. Instead, they're fighting with the second floor and not really fighting with us. And that's been one of the most hardest things to witness. The countless amount of people who have been here to fight and to speak against this, and to feel ignored. Not only to feel ignored, but to feel overpowered. So this is a great example of how important it is for us to vote, for us to be on top of our elected officials and what's happening in the city. Because sometimes when we're not paying attention, we lose things, and it's really, really a big loss for the city. I don't know what they was thinking when they decided to take half of it and turn it into a parking lot. They definitely was not thinking about the residents of District 5. They definitely wasn't thinking about the kids of District 5. And one thing about this city is they know who they need to talk to get them to vote so that we lose our power. So I definitely was taken back by Councilwoman Stacoviak's vote in support of selling Morley Field, because it was her chance to basically stand with us. And that 22 seconds that she took to really think about her decision speaks for it all. That really deep down in your stomach, this doesn't feel right. And so unfortunately, some voted against their gut. I know that they have said that they have plans for this lot, right? And they're trying to get the Woodlawn Neighborhood Association and other people involved in standing up for what this piece of the field is going to look like. I'm gonna beg you guys, because unfortunately I after January I won't be an elected official, but I'm gonna beg you guys not to quit, not to stop fighting, to keep the fight going. And I'll always stand with you guys.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Councilor DeRosa. Next up, we have from Sunrise Providence, Devin Pincus.
Thanks, Jen, and thank you everyone so much for being here today. I'm so grateful to be in community with people as we embark on this long journey of fighting for what we deserve. I think, and it is a long journey, right? We have been out here for months. As people have said, we have gone to city council meetings, we have gone to rallies at the field, we have sent letters, we have signed petitions, and it's a long road, it's hard, and it's really meaningful to be able to have a community of support to keep that going. And I want to take this opportunity to just remind all of us here that what we're asking for is not crazy. It's not too much. It's not impossible. We're asking for what we need and what we deserve. And I want to lift up that the City Council, the Pawtucket City Government, is trying to frame the current arrangement as a compromise, right? They're trying to say that, oh, well, you know, you're getting your half of the field, we're getting our half, that's a good deal, right? But and more than that, it's not a compromise. The Pawtucket City Government was forced to hand over a half of the field because to sell it would be illegal. It's not a compromise. It's not a compromise for our government, our representatives, to follow the law. That's not a compromise. So we are here asking the same thing that we've been asking from the beginning, demanding the same thing that we've demanded from the beginning, which is don't sell community green space in a primarily working class neighborhood and relocate it to a more affluent district, a whiter district, 1.5 miles away over a hill. Whether it's half the field or the whole field, our concerns remain the same and our demands remain the same. So we will be out here with the community for as long as we need to, and we'll make sure that we get what we need and what we deserve, which is equitable access to green space in all of our communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sunrise Providence, and Devin, thank you. That's all we're asking for. Really, what other neighborhoods have in Pawtucket and throughout the state? They have parks, right? They have nice places to recreate. That's all we're asking for. So, Councilor Shooty. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
It's fine. The mayor doesn't even know how to pronounce my name right. So, my name is Alexis Schutte. I'm the district councilor for District 4, the only district that has land on both sides of the river. And what we have seen, not just here, but in the clean cutting of the forests in District 4 to make room for a stadium that very few folks in the district wanted. It's not going to serve the community. We have a new high school being planned. Again, on the other side of the city is where they proposed a unified high school where folks would have to be bused for miles to be able to get to high school. This is just another step in the way that Pawtucket has decided to treat people of color. It's a way that Pawtucket has decided to disenfranchise voters. And the only way that we're going to get out of this is with people like you. People like us standing up, calling it what it is. Issues of police brutality have plagued this city for countless generations. And now, not only are we being brutalized on the streets, but we're being brutalized in our parks. And there is no moral reason for this. There's nothing. They have no legs to stand on in this, and they can say that it's not a racist issue. They can say that, oh, we need jobs. Of course we need jobs. We need housing. We need all these things. But as was mentioned, Clovis Gregor, he was not involved in this so-called compromise. The leadership of the council decided to get in touch with local papers, spin it the way they always do, and not include the folks that actually live in the district in any of this planning or any future planning. So until we have an actual voice, I think we should be standing out here, and we should be going in there, and we should reclaim all of the spaces that belong to us in the city, because they are ours, not theirs.
Thank you. Up next we have a Shea Senior, Zach.
Hey.
Hello everybody. My name is Zachary Pinto, and I've grown up here in Pawtucket playing sports on fields just like Morley Field. These green spaces are of the utmost importance to our community. They bring the people of Pawtucket so much, whether it be a field for the youth to practice and play sports on, or a place for elderly members of our community to walk and relax at. But Morley Field brings a greater benefit than just a place for fun and relaxation. A green space like Morley Field helps to protect our community from rising temperatures and increasing levels of rain. Asphalt and concrete trap heat, which makes our cities, which are engulfed in gray, hotter. And the real danger comes at night, because when heat gets trapped by the asphalt, temperatures don't decrease naturally, as they should, which in our hot summers leads to people getting heat stroke. And while concrete does a great job at absorbing heat, making our city hotter, it does not absorb water, which makes flooding far worse, without grass and dirt to soak up the flow from all the rain. People will be affected, and people will continue to feel these effects if we keep losing green spaces like Morley Field. Climate change is affecting us on a global scale, but there are things we can do here on a local level to help the people of Pawtucket, and that is through investing in green spaces like Morley Field. The people need these spaces. Our city needs these spaces. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zach. I want to welcome up here Harrison Tuttle, who is are you the executive director of Black Lives Matter PAC?
I don't need the mic, that's fine. Yeah, can everybody hear me? Awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming out today. I see not only elected officials here from Pawtucket, but I also see elected officials from Providence. I see community leaders all throughout this gathering here today. I want to speak because a lot of people have brought up a lot of the same points, but I want to speak to the intersectionality of all of this. When you take away parks, when you take away things from the community, they compound, right? And so we talk about environmental racism great points brought up by Zachary Pinto. But when you take away parks and areas in which kids can go to, it leads to things like crime. It leads to other things that end up being criminalized by the elected officials and police departments, not only here in Pawtucket, but all throughout the city and all throughout the state of Rhode Island. And so one of the things that, I really focus on is, if this was in Western Cranston or this was in Warwick or a more affluent area and the community got behind an issue like this, would this be happening?
No, absolutely not.
Right. But it's because it's a historically black and brown area. It's because we have lower economic folks that are here, is that they think that they can roll over all of y'all. They think that your voice doesn't matter because at the end of the day, they're private developers. The people that they need to talk to, as you mentioned, they're gonna make their decisions. And so this is what community looks like. This is what it means to have each other's back when the people in office don't. And we've had a great start. We've elected 2 amazing folks here in Pawtucket. We have elected officials that are still here. We have elected officials in Providence. We have environmental groups. We're all here together and we need to stay here if we're going to expect change. And we need that change here in community because we've got to stop trying to fight people taking away. We've got to actually start investing in areas in which we need. If we're always fighting to keep the things that we have, we're never going to move forward. Thank you, y'all.
Thank you, Harrison. I want to welcome up here Sue Anderbois.
Hi friends, I'll be quick. I'm Sue Anderbois. I am the Democratic nominee for City Council in Providence, just over the border in Ward 3. I'm here for 2 reasons. One, environmental injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere, and so we want to stand with you. And also, when I talk to my neighbors in Providence, they say, what can we do about Morley Field? We want to help. We shouldn't lose Morley Field, and we know it's not Pawtucket, but this is our concern. And I have neighbors here, like Forrest is here, Greg is here, Steve is here. Lots of folks from Providence are here standing with you. So I'm here to say you're not alone, Pawtucket. Providence is here with you, and we're going to save Morley Field.
Thank you, Sue. And I'd like to welcome up here David Valise.
Oh, that's me.
From the Rhode Island Sierra Club. Welcome.
Hey everyone, I'm David Valise. I'm the Environmental Justice Chair of the Sierra Club in Rhode Island. I am also the Director of the Rhode Island Interfaith Coalition to Reduce Poverty. I'm happy to be here in both of those capacities. It's wonderful to see everyone. This is such a beautiful event. I'm glad the youth are out. Shout out to all the people that are young. Continue doing this work so that some of us can retire, please. A lot of things have been said already, so I'm just going to be quick. I think I want to follow up on the justice part of it. As an environmental justice advocate, I just want to echo that this is not by accident. This community is being targeted because historically in this country, black and brown communities have been disproportionately impacted by environmental hazards. That means higher asthma rates, higher respiratory problems, less green space than other communities. Whenever we look at environmental hazards and we look at a map of communities of color, those maps are identical. It is not by accident. So we're here not only because we want to save a field, but we want to save a community. At the hearing last time, we heard a lot about the impacts of this field and green space on kids. We heard a lot about emotional and mental stability, playing outside. I think as an organizer that works in the faith circles, I also want to say, and for those of you working in nature know this, there is something divine that happens when you spend time in nature. There is something profound that happens when your feet touch grass. There is something amazing that you really can't describe when you're playing outside as a kid. And so we need to preserve that. Lastly, I'll say I'm very excited about the State House this year. So thank you very much for everybody.
Thank you, David. And Greg Garrett,
Yes, Greg.
a tireless activist.
Yes.
Yeah, Greg.
Good afternoon, getting to be evening. I'm Greg Garrett. I'm the watershed steward for Friends of the Mashasik. The Mashasik River runs right by Morley Field. I got way too much to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. The mayor and city council of Pawtucket have broken the law. The law says you can't get rid of a park like this. It's protected by the donation of part of it. It's protected by the Land and Water Conservation Fund that bought the other part of it. The fact that the city tried to get rid of it without actually doing the paperwork, without actually applying to the National Park Service, has probably hurt their case. And I'm really confident that when it comes to DEM and to the National Park Service, the environmental injustice of what they're proposing will stop them. But I'm not sure, but I think so, and I think we're going to make the difference, you know, when we have a public hearing. I want to contrast this a little bit with the situation in Providence. Providence has a racial and environmental justice committee. And so if somebody in Providence proposed getting rid of a park like this, they would be laughed out of the room. It is absurd, you know, and so I would suggest to the people of Pawtucket, not that I'm allowed to, but I will anyway, you guys might want to start setting up a commission like this, a racial and environmental justice commission, so that you are already moving them away from this tradition and history of racism. You know, we've talked about RIDEM, and they're probably going to help us, but they need to be helping us now. You know, they haven't got an application yet, and they say we can't do anything without an application. We have gotten their decision not to let them build the parking lot until the paperwork with the National Park Service is all done, but they should be preventing this from going forward completely. They did not prevent, the law says that DEM has to prevent this park from being neglected, and they haven't stopped it from being neglected. So yeah, call Terry. He's a friend of mine. Call him and remind him. The phone number's on the side. Call him and remind him. The other thing I want to talk about is something that most people who are, you know, hardcore plaid shirt environmentalists don't talk about, is the nature of economic development. Economic development works best when it is a community-based process. Yes. How many of you were asked, what should we build there? You know, microfibers has been gone for a long time. Was anybody asked what should go there? No. If they'd asked you, nobody would have proposed building a parking lot on a park. It's like, why don't they ask? Why don't they do this right the first time? You know, it's like, it's just absurd. You know, it's almost unbelievable that the city of Pawtucket does economic development backwards every single time. You know, Tidewater, you know, the paw socks. It's like, start at the community and ask, because that's what's going to work. And in the 21st century, if you don't start with ecological healing and economic justice, environmental justice, climate justice, your economic development is not going to work. It just doesn't work anymore. You have to do it right. And they don't do it right. You know, and the people are the only way they're going to do it right. And until they start to listen, it's just almost unbelievable. Anyways, I think we're going to win. We're going to stop this. So of course, the city of Pawtucket says to this company, you can have this parking lot. And, you know, they're not going to get this parking lot. So is the company going to build their warehouse or not? nobody knows. You know, nobody's talking to them about the fact that this needs to be done very differently. And even if they get the parking lot, it's going to be 2 years from now. Who's going to wait? If you're building a warehouse and you think you need a parking lot, you're going to want that parking lot when the factory opens, when the warehouse opens. So obviously they're not going to have that, which means if I was that company, I'd be like looking at the government at Pawtucket and going, like, who's running this place? These clowns? Come on, we got to do better. So basically, they're undermining their own economic development with this. They're just actually making the company want to leave by doing this and not realizing that they've already lost and that they should actually just tell the company, either go find another parking lot or make a smaller facility. But you can't do this. So I'm going to end with one last thing. You know, we know we're going to win, and the city should figure that out fast. And what they really need to do is they need to tell those kids, we're not going to keep you from having a park for 3 years. We need to get that park reopened. So they actually should restore and reopen Morley Field by spring.
So here's the call to action. The call to action is call Terry Gray.
Yes.
Call folks at the RIDM.
222-2771.
That's it. Put it in your phone now and make that call. That would help a tremendous amount. So thank you everyone for coming out. Am I missing anybody who is?
Save the bank.
Save the Bay. Save the Bay.
Yes.
Pearson.
Thanks, everyone. I just want to thank a couple people specifically. My friend Bryce Dubois alerted me to this issue. Bryce and I met this summer when we were kayaking down the Blackstone River, which flows right behind City Hall. So I care an awful lot about urban rivers. And urban rivers have been neglected for a very long time in Rhode Island. I heard Rhode Island DEM brought up quite a bit, and you can't rely on Rhode Island DEM to protect our natural resources because they have a very specific mandate. And Morley Field, when you look at Morley Field and its position right next to the Mashastic River, it is such a sad thing. It is the last piece of green space in Pawtucket along the river. And to propose to just completely pave it is completely unbelievable to me. Completely unbelievable. It not only is a place for people to gather, we've already talked a lot about how fresh air matters to your mental well-being and your physical well-being, but also clean water. If Save the Bay cares a lot about clean water, and the Mashastic flows right down into Narragansett Bay. All of our urban rivers in Providence, in Pawtucket, in Cranston flow into Narragansett Bay. And I want to thank you all for inviting me to be here to help lend our voice to your voice. This is your park, and I personally want to help save Morley Field.
Thank you, Kate. So one more time, you want to do the call to action?
So I just wanted to, when I get the opportunity here, I just wanted to clear up a few things. There's been some misinformation, deliberate misinformation, one of which is that it was the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management who did environmental testing at Morley Field and found hazardous substances. That is absolutely not true, okay? The city authorized this developer to go ahead and do environmental testing. They didn't do the testing that they should be doing because they wouldn't have to dig 6 to 8 feet below to find contaminants. This is the city of Pawtucket started the Industrial Revolution in America. You'd be hard-pressed to find any place in Pawtucket where you would find some degree of contamination that would need remediation. That's not the excuse, that's not the reason for closing down Morley Field. They dug several holes all over the park and have left all the debris over there. They created the safety issue in Morley Field. Morley Field should be open. The Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management did not ask the Morley Field be closed down. They didn't think that the degree of contamination was to a level that actually created any safety issues to the people using the field. It was the city of Pawtucket, Department of works who went ahead and closed off the field. They just wanted to make it a fait accompli. Well, it's not. We have saved half, and we continue to do what we can to save the other half. They will not take Morley Field from the people of Pawtucket, from the kids of District 5. And finally, I just want to say what they are doing, despite everybody coming out here, having emails, letters, phone calls, and rallies, all protesting against what they're doing here. It's an abuse of power is what's happening here, and it's an abuse of public trust. The field is supposed to be Morley Field. It's supposed to be in perpetual public use for future generations. They have breached the children's trust here. They have breached the residents of Pawtucket's trust here in preserving that field and trying to do a paving of half. It makes no sense. It's so absurd. When they thought they could do the whole thing, that's what they were planning on doing. We stopped them from half. Now you would think they would go away. No, they're still insisting. Now what's going to happen with half a field? It is an absurdity that's behind comprehension. And what they're doing is as reprehensive as it is shameful. Thank you all for coming again. Oh, we have one more speaker, sorry.
And you stay behind the side. Yep. And you stay here? Yeah, and you speak into it, and then you scream.
I go to Shea. When I go to school,
a little louder.
When I go to school every day, my teachers tell me all the time, "Oh, you need to get off your phone. You need to go outside. You need to run around. You need to do this. You need to breathe in the fresh air." When I go outside after we are let out of school, I see these signs, and these signs are always telling us no loitering. You can get arrested if you are standing somewhere you are not supposed to. So I ask the Pawtucket if I can get arrested for staying outside, but you want me to stay outside, where should I go?
Could a couple little kids say a couple words?
Yes, absolutely.
They're going to come right out here right now. Bring your ball, guys. Okay.
Hi, folks. Airman Commander Gore here. We've been watching your efforts from outer space, and we're here to encourage the effort. We have a couple of local youngsters and my nephew, niece, and Narkas Pushpatorko Patala. Say hi. Wave at the people. Wave at the people. Okay. Anyway, they just met here at this rally, at this presentation, and they've been playing with this ball. I'm sorry if it distracted, but I think it's proof that kids like to play. Let's see what they have to say. Tell them your name and tell them your statement.
I'm Zoe.
Yay! Yay, Zoe!
And I'm Jazz.
What do you guys want to tell this crowd?
I think it's important that we have Morley Field so we could play.
Yes.
Yay!